too.
Oh.
Because there's so many people in competition for the jobs. You have to be a very nice and very good person in what you do to get the work. And being here today is very much how I started out 30 years ago, because I went to Cal State Dominguez Hills, which was a college at that time. It's a university now. It's a much smaller school than Saddleback is, but when I started college, I wanted to write, but all they had was journalism. They didn't even have much in creative writing, and to satisfy my my major, which was communication, I had to do a couple classes in TV production. And when I got into the studio, which was very much like one of these, I found that this was what I wanted to do. I could not leave it. And I had no idea how I would get into this business, but it really called to me at that time. Well, luckily, even though the school had no film department, this was in '76, and Cal State, I think USC was the only major college in Los Angeles that had a really good film school, because none of the Cal State schools did, and I don't know if the University of California schools did, but back then it was just TV production, broadcast, video. But our teachers told us about a program that the Directors Guild had. They started in the '70s, and they still have it to this day, called the Assistant Directors Training Program. And if it wasn't for that program, I would have never gotten in the business. I had no idea of any contacts in film or anybody that was working in film at that time. But I find that if you like to take tests, because in order to get the first step you have to do is a test that's very similar to the GRE. It's like the SAT, but it's for the graduate school. And they have it at USC, if it's still held there, every year. And they give the test to about 2,000 people. So if you like tests and you're good at tests, you should definitely look into the program. You can find it online at trainingplan.org. I looked it up last night, and it'll give you all the information. They are about to start their new recruits for this year. And you have to get your application in September, and then they call you in January. It takes a year process to get in. They usually interview about 2,000 people, and they let in 20. They train you for 2 years, approximately, so that you can get 400 days of actual work. They put you on the program. They pay you. For each 100 days, your salary goes up. I believe you start out at like $700 a week, and at the end of the 400 days, you're making $900 a week. When I did it, it started at like 2 or 3, and we ended at 4 at the end of 400 days. But now it's 900, and as soon as you finish the 400 days, you are automatically grandfathered into the Directors Guild, and you can start getting work through word of mouth and all of the contacts you've made in the 2 years you've been a trainee. That's what they call them. And then you start making what they call the big bucks, which I think is really ridiculous money. They start out the second ADs at like $4,000 a week, something like that, which is crazy, but that's the film business for you. So it was crazy even back then, but it's even crazier now. And I got in, and at that time I was the only woman on the set who wasn't in either wardrobe, script, or makeup. There were no women in ADing or in production managing, and very few producers. There were very few minorities. And the reason the Directors Guild started this program, because they found in the '70s that everybody that was making films in Hollywood were getting into the Guild through nepotism, through their father, their brother, their families, and they decided to start this program to get minorities and women into the business so that they could have a more diverse group making movies for the rest of the country. And gee whiz, in '80 is when I got in, and it was just starting. It had only been around for like 5 to 10 years. So there were still very few women, very few minorities on the set. But I'm glad to say that in the last 30 years, things have changed tremendously. Not as much as we women would like, but we are getting more work. There's still not as many female first ADs as everyone would like, but it's a position they are hesitant to give to just anybody, because the first AD is ultimately responsible for that $100 million they're putting forth for that movie, or the 5 million, or 1 million, whatever it costs. The producers put it out there, and there's one person that they go to in the end who has to answer for everything that happens, and that's what the first AD does. So it's a stressful position, but no more so than any other position on a film crew. Everybody is under a lot of stress to get their job done for their boss. And I had my boss, who was the director and the producers. And you just have to buckle under for those years that you're under a lot of stress until you can get to the end of it and kind of rest on your laurels, as I would say. But it is a very, very interesting and fun business. You just have to be willing to stand on your feet for 16 to 20 hours a day, and go to bed at 12 at night and get up at 4 in the morning to be on set in the morning, because unfortunately everybody starts out on the low totem pole, and it's not until you work up that you get a chance to get a break on set. So I did that in LA for 30 years, and then I got a show in San Diego, and I moved to San Diego to do this show and found I liked it down there as much as LA. It had everything that LA had, and didn't have as many cars and people and craziness, and I was towards the end of my career, so I consider myself semi-retired right now. But I would love to see all of you get into the business, because it was a gas. I enjoyed it. It was the best thing I could have possibly done.